The following is a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.
Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. It's your midweek fix for racing news and information. Brought to you by the Championship Racing Network. Now let's head trackside to join your hosts, Steve West and Matt Nicholson.
Welcome into the latest edition of Crossed Flags. We have made it to the point where we're past unlucky number 13 anyway. Welcome to 14. And we're actually not talking Tony Stewart this week. Well, actually, I guess we probably could. Coming up a little bit later on, we're going to talk a potential 2025 schedule. We say potential because we really question the source of this one.
Very.
We're also going to talk about Kyle Larson and that famed or infamous now waiver. And we'll lead off with John Force here in just a couple of moments. But quickly, Kyle Busch, he was at Indianapolis doing a tire test for Goodyear, cracked up the car.
Yeah, out of turn two where they normally crack them up. The IndyCar does it a lot. And it wasn't because of a tire failure. He just lost it.
Oops.
I saw a short video of it. It wasn't good.
No, not good. Don't know whether it was a Goodyear tire. Probably not.
No.
Probably just overdriving.
Twas not.
Secondly, rumor mill going around, obviously, when it comes to silly season related to Formula One. This one we do know. Another domino has started to fall. Esteban Ocon has told Alpine, bye, you and I will be splitting at the end of this year. So he will be looking for a job. Haas F1 may come calling. Sauber, soon to be Audi, may come calling. We'll find out. And the thing that we were talking about when it comes to rumors and this guy right here, Tony Stewart, we have a highly unconfirmed report that Tony Stewart's selling more than just Stewart Haas Racing and the 4 charters. The rumor is...
Well, let's see. Last year he sold the All-Star Circuit of Champions, which is the sprint car series that he had, to Brad Sweet and Kyle Larson, which is now is the High Limit Racing Series.
Mm-hmm.
We now have 4 charters gone and a whole outfit. And apparently the hot topic of the weekend at the Dirt Late Model Dream, which is at Eldora, ring a bell? That Eldora has apparently been sold. Apparently.
Okay.
To Flow Racing.
Well, that's an interesting particular rumor right there, to go to Flow Racing of all things.
And Castrol.
Okay.
So.
Again, rumor. Let's make sure we make that perfectly clear. It's rumor. Nothing has been confirmed. No statement from Tony Stewart. No statement from Flow Racing. No statement from Castrol Oil. So we'll just go on the fact that it is rumor. It is unconfirmed. We will keep an eye on it. And hopefully by Saturday, when we get to our 2-hour edition of the show, we'll have all of that information for you.
If all that does happen, there's about to be one massive drag racing outfit.
Yeah.
In 25.
Because he's about to build something real big over there.
Huge.
I can guarantee it. All right. Speaking of drag racing, this will be the first time we've had the chance really to talk about it here on this show. And the main reason why is because of a legend. His name is John Force. John Force has been around the NHRA seemingly forever. And I say seemingly forever because his career started back in the mid-1970s. Mm-hmm. Think about that. He started drag racing in 1975. Still drag racing, to the point where just last weekend at the New England Nationals, he won his 157th funny car event win. 157, far and away more than anybody else has ever won at the top levels of the NHRA. The man's got 16 NHRA championships. He's actually got a 17th too. Back in the mid-1980s, he won an AHRA championship. How many people remember the AHRA?
Not many, I guarantee you.
Bingo. That guy's got a title there. So he's got 17 titles, 157 national event wins just in the NHRA. 75 years old. He is the man behind John Force Racing. And after he won at New Hampshire in the New England Nationals last weekend, he got to talking in the post-race interview, and if you were listening, and there's a difference, and I've said this many occasions, and I learned this way back when, there's a difference between hearing and listening. If you're hearing something, you kind of know somebody was saying something. You might even know who it was that was saying it, but you probably didn't catch the gist of it. If you're listening, you know who said it and what they said exactly. Difference between hearing and listening. Mm-hmm. So if you're just hearing the post-race interview, this probably kind of passed you by. But after he got done and he got out and he started talking and got to talking in length about this, and Matt, you were the one to catch it, so I'm going to give it to you. But he said something that really made people that are in the know about this kind of stuff really pay attention, because he hadn't mentioned this before.
No, he hadn't. It was what you would call one of those eyebrow raisers. Yeah, and the way I would word it. He was in the final round against his teammate car, Austin Prock, who is filling in driving for Robert Height, who typically drives. Robert's dealing with some, from what is understood, some health issues, some health challenges. He's working to get better, and he is set to come back at some point, whether it be later this year or he comes back in 25. It's one of the two. Yet to be seen. But John said, as clear as a bell, my time's coming and my time's about to be up. And he pointed at Austin Prock and said, this kid's going to take over my car. And it caught Austin Prock by surprise. He was like,
I don't doubt that it did.
It caught him by surprise. So is he getting ready to do it this year? Doubtful.
Probably not, because you think about a guy who, again, he's been doing this since 1975. That means he's been doing this a very long time. We're talking, he's approaching 50 years of being behind the wheel of a funny car. He's not just going to up and go, I'm out. He's going to let everybody know along the way, because unlike a NASCAR, they're more like IndyCar in the fact that they don't really repeat going from one circuit to another.
Right.
So once they've gone to one location, like they kicked off the year in Gainesville, Florida for the Gator Nationals, the famed Gator Nationals, they're not going back to Gainesville. He's going to want to let his fans, even if he doesn't necessarily feel 100% the desire, he's still going to give his fans the chance to see him one last time.
He will definitely have a swan song season. Whether it be 25, I could foresee it being probably 26 would be his full swan song season, to where there's planning, I guess you could say, and there's a proper send-off. He's just not going to say, see y'all.
Yeah.
He's not going to pull a Nico Rosberg.
No,
or not going to pull.
I don't see that at all.
Who else did it?
Any number of drivers have actually
quite a few have, but the most recent remembrance is Nico Rosberg just saying, all right, I've done what I could do. See ya.
Time for me to go, and I'm out.
I could probably see 26 being the last one.
Yeah. Give him a really, really good chance to have the fans fed him, have his competitors celebrate him as well. And you know what? Give him a real good chance to get 160 to 165 on the win total, because you think about it, 75 years old, the man is still winning, and winning on a pretty consistent basis as well. I mean, he's winning one or two events really still a year. And I could easily see that continuing.
And speaking from Charlotte last year at the 4-Wide Nationals, when scheduling didn't allow you to go, but I ended up going up there and took Mom over there. That guy right there, she is a huge fan of the guy. Mm-hmm. And just so happens that I'm close friends with, basically, he's now John's right-hand man for public relations and communications. When the man walks up to you to speak to you and say hello to you and doesn't say, hey, how are you? He calls you by your first name. Appreciate you coming by here and hanging out at the trailer. You can't ask for anything any nicer.
No.
Very, very hospitable man. Even Brittany, she's the same way.
Yeah.
Walk up, talk to you like she's known you for 10 years, and him the same way.
And it's kind of strange, because we talk about racers a lot, and you think racers, they're a lot the equivalent of just any kind of other sports star or really celebrity of any kind, and you get a whole lot of different reports, I guess, or feedback on exactly what kind of a celebrity that person is. Some of them are very standoffish, very shy almost. Some of them are just like we're talking about John Force here, more than happy to get to know you, remembers your name, things like that. Others, just flat rude. And we've come across all of that. We've heard about all of that.
No kidding.
And truth be told, if we go out to a track, we've seen it all.
We've hands down seen every single angle of the spectrum that he just talked about. And this is even something a little nugget Molly can learn whenever she gets the opportunity to meet a driver for the first time. And this is the way I word it. The less fangirlish you are around them, and that's the term, being a fangirl.
Or fanboy.
Fanboy,
We'll
however you
go
look
that way
at it.
too.
I even tell guys, stop fangirling around them. But the more level-headed you are with them, they're going to be more level-headed with you.
Sure, absolutely.
And will talk to you like they've known you for years.
Yeah. Just because, for example, he's a 16-time champion who's won 157 national events. He gets up every morning. He has to go through the same processes that we do. He has to put his pants legs on one leg at a time. He does all the regular stuff that we do, and they respect that if you treat them like a person. You know, and some of them will go so far as to look at you if you happen to, and I've done this, I can tell you, happen to ask good questions and then ask a dumb question. They'll look at you and they'll act like they're mad, but they say it with a smile on their face. Well, that was a stupid question.
Yeah.
You know, they're more than happy to put up with that kind of stuff if you treat them like a regular person.
Bingo.
That guy's that kind of guy.
Yep.
No doubt about it.
Sure
and you'll find that most of the drivers in the NHRA are actually like that.
Oh, yes.
Because they understand something that in a lot of ways I think Formula One has lost. IndyCar is kind of starting to rediscover. Mm-hmm. NASCAR has gone through waves with.
Right.
And that's the relationship with the fans and the drivers. Mm-hmm. And allowing the drivers to get close to the fans. The NHRA may do it better than any other form of high-level racing.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that, because every ticket that is a stand ticket that is bought is a pit pass as well. Mm-hmm. That means you can walk literally within feet of where me to this television behind me here, and you're standing within that distance of the car, and they're going through the warm-up cycle, and you're sitting there listening to 11,000 horsepower singing a choir. That's how I word it, singing a choir, and you're like, oh.
Yeah.
And for the people that's never been to an NHRA event, I've been to 2, you're going to hear the term nitro baptism. And when you get your nitro baptism, it will let you know how well your lungs are working real quickly.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yep. I've yet to experience it. We tried a couple of times within the last year or so, and unfortunately just schedules just didn't allow for it. But yes, it is going to happen at some point in time. I'm going to go get mine. But I'll tell you this right now, and this is something I can tell you without having to be there. If you go to an NHRA event and you treasure your hearing at all, find hearing protection. Earplugs, ear muffs, whatever it is, bring something to protect that hearing if you treasure it at all.
Sometimes plugs and muffs together are not enough.
Yeah. These things are loud.
Ruthless.
11,000 horsepower through straight pipes is loud. Mm-hmm. You think it's loud at a NASCAR race or an IndyCar race, ain't got nothing on the NHRA. He's gonna be missed. He's not gone yet. So go check out an NHRA event, even if it's just on television. Check it out.
Yep.
This guy's a class act.
Yep.
Speaking of other things going on the planet, we talked about it here at the beginning. We teased it at the beginning. The Kyle Larson drama, debacle, debate, whatever. I don't care how you want to put it. We've said here on the show, we have not been shy about saying here on this particular show, this podcast, and the 2-hour-long Saturday show. Matt and I are in thorough agreement on this. Kyle Larson deserved to get the waiver. And there are several reasons why. Number one is the precedent that NASCAR had previously set. And I know NASCAR and some other people, albeit on radio or on television, have said that this is an unprecedented thing. Nobody foresaw this coming. What we say by NASCAR setting a precedent is NASCAR did an example of allowing a drivers to get waivers, even though what they were doing was not NASCAR related, specifically. In this case, the Indy 500.
Yeah.
But the added wrinkle into this is the fact that Kyle Larson, Rick Hendrick, Jeff Gordon, and everybody from Arrow McLaren, Zach Brown, and everybody there all said the intent was to run the double, to go from the Indy 500 to the Coca-Cola 600 on the same day, become only the fifth driver to do so. He got delayed by rain. Call it Mother Nature, call it an act of God. You call it what you want. I'll call it an act of God. Doesn't stop the intent of him wanting to go run the Coca-Cola 600. And everybody's all sitting there paying attention to that interview that he said where we're going to make this and we're going to finish this race out before we go to Charlotte. What did he do after he got done with the race? Within 20 minutes, the man was on a plane and headed to Charlotte.
Yep, he was.
So the intent was indeed there.
Mm-hmm.
And as we have said many times, and as the old saying goes, you can plan a fight, and I don't care whether it's a boxing match or a battle in a war. You can plan a fight all the way up until the first shot is fired or the first punch is thrown, and then that plan's out the window. Shot
Correct.
got fired by Mother Nature, by God. Rain. Delayed 4 hours. Plans changed. And you think, but they didn't make NASCAR a priority. You're wrong about that. Rick Hendrick has made NASCAR a priority going back to 1984.
40 years.
Kyle Larson has made NASCAR a priority for 10 to 12 years as a driver, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
They put over a year's worth of work into Kyle Larson preparing to go race the Indy 500 and then go to the Coca-Cola 600. He traveled back and forth on All-Star Weekend for NASCAR, and then the next week to make sure that he was helping to qualify that car for the Coca-Cola 600 and doing all the travel that needed to be done. And even though he could have said, after 4 hours, I'll just let Justin Allgaier run the rest of it. And in hindsight, technically, that's effectively what he did, because by the time he got there, got suited up and ready to climb into the Cup Series car, rain hit Charlotte. The same storm that hit Indianapolis effectively hit Charlotte.
Derecho.
And he never actually got set foot in the car. But intent is one thing. This was an act of God. He has no control over that. Unless Rick Hendrick somewhere down the line created a weather machine that nobody knows about and has been keeping it secret. And I kind of doubt that.
That didn't happen.
So I kind of doubt that. So this is an act of God. You can't tell me that he did not deserve this waiver. So all those people who are complaining about it, settle. Settle down.
Yeah. First off, the way I interpret the rule is if you, as he said, you have the intent to compete in said event. Okay. He qualified the car. Qualifying the car means you intend to run the car.
Absolutely, it does.
I don't think it would be right if I qualify the car with the intent to run it and I'm just saying, heck with it. Steve, get in the car. You drive all 600 miles. No, it ain't going to work like that. Or vice versa.
Sure.
He qualifies the car. Matt, you drive a car. No, it don't work like that. He had the intent to do so. But, and I will die on this hill, on this argument. Anybody, anywhere, and nobody can tell me that Rick Hendrick did not already know that a waiver would come and a waiver would be granted when he made the decision with Arrow McLaren to finish the 500 first.
Yeah.
You cannot tell me that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And for those people, and I've heard many, many reports on this, that this was up to the NASCAR competition committee. And if you read the rule book, it states at the beginning of this rule and at the end, effectively, that this is up to the discretion of NASCAR officials. And they take it and put it in front of a competition committee. And apparently there were some people on the competition committee that felt like the fans who say they didn't feel like he put NASCAR as a priority.
Wrong.
Sorry. Just 110% totally disagree with that.
Yep.
This man was putting himself out for the betterment of American-based motorsports. This put more eyes on the Indy 500 and more eyes on the Coca-Cola 600 because people wanted to find out whether or not he was going to be able to do it. Our producer, Molly, who's not a racing fan by her own admission, she checked out the Indy 500. Was that the first time in your life? First time in her life. I can't go any further than that. I'll turn it over to you.
So this morning there was an interview done at 6:30 a.m. on Sirius XM radio with that Elton Sawyer talked about the whole decision-making process, and this statement was put out on NASCAR social media channels. From Elton Sawyer, quote, "We didn't take it lightly. There was a lot of discussion internally, and I'm proud of our team. We ultimately landed at giving Kyle a waiver."
We ultimately landed.
Yeah, right.
It's an interesting way of putting it.
Essentially, our decision-making was, although we had the inclement weather in Indianapolis as well as Charlotte, Kyle made every attempt to get to Charlotte. He was standing in the pit box with his helmet on, ready to go. Unfortunately, we had bad weather in Charlotte as well, and we're unfortunately not able to get the race going again. Yeah, right. That's how we landed on our decision.
Well, we talked about that last week, so we're not going to recover that.
Yeah, I'm not going to uncover that because, this was without a doubt uncharted waters for us. In the past, those waivers that have been mostly given mostly for medical reasons, sure about that? This one was unprecedented in the fact that we had a driver miss one of our races, a championship event, to be at another event. That's why it took as long as it did. Somebody, please get this bell cow that you have to get in front of cameras and on radio airwaves to talk about decisions that are made. Get him out from in front of it because he doesn't do nothing every time. He just takes one more dig with that shovel and digs his hole a little bit deeper. Mm-hmm. Common sense tells you they knew he was going to get the waiver. That's why they left him in Indianapolis. Supposedly there's something out there, NASCAR was upset because they didn't put them a priority first. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You purport to be in the head of one Kyle Larson. Get out. You don't know that territory.
Nope.
You don't know what was going through his mind, the mind of Rick Hendrick and Jeff Gordon from Hendrick Motorsports, or Zach Brown and everybody that was up at Arrow McLaren Racing on the IndyCar side of it. You don't know. What we know is this. He did all the travels. He did all the qualifying. He was going to do all the racing that he possibly could. Act of God got in the way.
Now it comes the fun part.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Speaking of rumors, and my gosh, we're just full of them, aren't we? I have said this on many, many occasions. It's a cornerstone, actually, of the 2-hour Saturday show, and I'm going to make it the cornerstone of this particular podcast.
I know which road you're going on this one.
The cornerstone of the show is I would rather be last on a story and get it right than be first on a story and get it wrong. You guys should be able to come to us, be it here on Crossed Flags or on the Saturday Show Championship Racing Network, CRN,
Yep.
and be able to know 100% that what we're telling you is, to the best of our ability, research, and knowledge, fact. If we come across a rumor and we feel we should mention it on the air, we will state before, probably at some point in time during, and certainly after we'd give you the story, that it is rumor. That we don't know for sure. It is rumor. But the problem these days with so many different outlets, I mean, when I was growing up, well before these two were born, I remember the days when there were only 4, maybe 5 TV stations in a town. And I count PBS as one of those 5. So you had PBS, ABC, NBC, CBS, and maybe an independent station. We're based out of Birmingham in case you are listening from any other place in the country. The independent station, the first independent station TV-wise that signed on in Birmingham was Channel 21. I remember I was alive and very cognizant of it when it signed on. I remember when it did that. Before that, there were 4 stations. And as a kid in the 1970s, you hated when, for example, the president was going to do a speech in primetime because ABC, NBC, and CBS and PBS would all carry it. And you're a kid. You couldn't give a flying rat's you-know-what about what the president has to say. You would much rather watch something entertaining. Now, TV stations with cable, there's all kinds of news, all kinds of sports, all kinds of information, entertainment, blah, blah, blah. Radio's the same way. Whole lot more radio stations now than there were when I was growing up. Mm-hmm. And then you add in the internet. And the internet is well known for having what we like to call keyboard warriors. And I'm sure Molly's dealt with these as well as a person who gets on there. It's somebody who will get on there and they will say literally anything that comes to mind because they're behind a keyboard. If they were staring at me or Matt or Molly face to face, they would never say the stuff that they say online. But they'll be more than happy to say it online because there's no ramifications. And it leads to a whole lot of rumors. It leads to a whole lot of people that are trying to do what we're doing right here with this particular podcast and with the Saturday show. And that's bring you a clearinghouse, an ability to find out the latest in the news and get some conversation about it as well from people who work within the business, who know people within the business. Now, do we know everybody? No. Do we know everything? No. We're the first persons to admit to that. But there are some who will not. And this desire to be first is going way overboard. We've heard some releases when it comes to the 2025 Cup Series schedule. And part of this has to do with the fact that we now have to deal with 4 different entities when it comes to television rights. You still have MRN, you still have PRN on the radio side. But now you got Fox for the first 14 races, then a 5-race set for Amazon Prime, a 5-race set for TNT Sports, and a 14-race set for NBC. So they let us know Amazon Prime will kick off with a crown jewel race, the Coca-Cola 600, for example. They let us know TNT Sports would kick off with a night race in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And then you could start to extrapolate other things out. Coca-Cola 600 obviously is Memorial Day. We also know that the Daytona 500 comes the week after the Super Bowl. We already know when the Super Bowl is coming. So you start looking at the dates. Okay, there's an off weekend, one off weekend. NASCAR didn't say what the off weekend was. We just figured it was probably going to be one of 2 likely ones, Easter or Mother's Day. But we don't know. See where we're going with this? Who is it that put out this schedule?
That would be our good friends at the Daily Downforce, Steve.
Who?
Them.
Yeah, okay. They have purported to put out this schedule that you see on the screen. Can we verify this as the actual 2025 schedule in any way, shape, or form?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
No. Quick answer, subtle, plain, simple. No. We cannot.
They're trying to go off of it because this is the graphics package that is used and the font of the wording that is used by NASCAR themselves.
Sure. Looks pretty. Looks official.
But I can promise you it ain't.
Yeah. I mean, there are some things here they've been rumoring for a little while. But we'll start up in the upper left-hand corner right there. Clash at Bowman Gray.
Yeah, we know that's odds of that happening are not very high.
Highly doubt that. If they move the Clash, which they pretty much already have said, without saying it in so many words, that the Clash at the LA Coliseum's all but done. But to move it to Bowman Gray, when we have heard that Rockingham is back in the mix, makes no sense. 0 cents. None whatsoever.
Duels,
okay,
given.
All right,
Daytona 500,
sure,
given.
I'm good with that.
Atlanta, spot on.
That's where we started this year. Atlanta, Vegas, Phoenix, yeah, all that's the same. Coda there. Bristol seems a little early, but okay.
Coda is the same weekend. Bristol is the same weekend. Martinsville goes up. According to this now.
Sure.
Martinsville's up. Texas is up. Oh, but let's look at the 13th of April.
Yeah, the top of column number 2. Mexico City? Nothing signed.
No.
Nothing confirmed.
No.
NASCAR has indeed said, yes, we would like to take the Cup Series international. But they haven't said where. They haven't said when.
Like to and actually doing is two different things.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about Mexico. And as much as we know that, for example, Formula One and Formula E, a couple of other series we cover on the weekend show, and we've covered Formula One here on this show, do go to Mexico City. They fly in, and they fly everything in. Mm-hmm. NASCAR ain't flying everything in.
No.
NASCAR's trucking everything in.
They are.
In fact, right now, going from the Charlotte, North Carolina area all the way across to Sonoma, California, are haulers and teams from both the Xfinity and the Cup Series. And they're having to take 18-wheelers all the way across the country by interstate.
Yeah, the cup haulers are. The cup haulers are actually, I seen a photo of some that are actually in Utah right now.
Yeah, RFK showed a picture of them going basically through the Bonneville Salt Flats.
Yeah, to my understanding, the Xfinity haulers left Portland and went straight to Sonoma.
Okay, either way.
That saved them a ton of money.
They had to head out from the Charlotte area
Yeah.
to Portland last week before they could go to Sonoma.
Yep.
If you honestly believe they're going to fly anything other than the drivers and the owners from the Charlotte area to Mexico City, you're wrong.
Yeah.
They've got to take those very expensive haulers and drive them into Texas and then down into Mexico.
With an escort.
They better get an escort, because I'm here to tell you one thing. Those haulers, you know this better than I do, but I know it quite well. Those haulers ain't cheap, because just the rig itself is expensive enough. Then you add in all the equipment that they truck with them,
Cars.
and the 2 cars that are sitting up at the top of the hauler.
Yeah.
And you don't think that some gangs that are up and sitting around in Mexico wouldn't love to just have an opportunity to go hijack something?
Oh, yeah. That's why they had, back when the Busch series ran at Mexico City for those years, they would have escorts in groups of 2. There'd be one set of haulers being a group, no set of haulers being a group. And I think there was probably 4 to 5 security vehicles spaced in that convoy.
Yeah.
So that's a big risk.
Yeah. So Mexico City is question mark number 2 on this particular one. And I give it a big highlighted question mark.
Easter weekend does fall on April the 20th.
Okay.
Next year.
So that would make sense, and that would put Talladega in late April.
That would put Talladega back from 1 week on its traditional week.
Yeah. And this does bring up the question, because we have seen this where Barber Motorsports Park here in the state of Alabama likes to go back-to-back with Talladega. Sometimes Barber leads, sometimes Barber follows. We'll have to see how this works, because if this holds true and Barber decides to follow, that does put them back into the month of May.
It does.
Which has happened, so it's not unprecedented, but for the most part, we know Indy likes to keep Indianapolis to itself in a month.
It does. But
so that's quasi-questionable.
Questionable. But when you look at Sonoma going up to May.
Yeah. These 2 getting flipped?
No, I don't see that happening. Going from Mexico to North Carolina, back to Alabama, then to California.
And then to Kansas.
Then cut across to Kansas.
And then all the way back to the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro. From everything that we've heard, North Wilkesboro again next year for the All-Star race.
Yeah,
so
it's
that
already been
makes
set.
sense.
It's already been set.
And of course, this is Coca-Cola 600. That's Memorial Day.
But look at the Fox portion. You take away the 2 non-points races. 1, 2, 3, 4 points races on the main network. 4. Huh?
All right. Let's go to the Prime section.
Sure, let's do it.
Coca-Cola 600. Again, Prime. We already told you. This is confirmed. We know this.
Gateway got confirmed last weekend.
Gateway, no problem there.
Hey,
see
there's
that
another one.
Didn't we already go outside the United States with Mexico City? Now we got 2? No. This would have come out a long time ago if there were any validity to this.
You know what? That weekend right there, that's F1 weekend.
Doubt
Which
seriously they're doing a NASCAR
this
F1
weekend.
doubleheader.
Yeah, big time.
Dover, okay. That moves them back on the schedule, but okay. We'll go with that. Column number 3 in the middle, Nashville.
Same weekend.
Yeah, don't have a problem with that.
Back to a Saturday night race.
Yeah, we already talked about that in-season tournament thing here on this show and on our 2-hour show. Atlanta, Chicago street race, that's set from this year. Pocono, New Hampshire. There shows up Rockingham.
Hi there, old friend.
Really? There.
So who's losing a date to bring them back?
Let's continue on and we'll get back to that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Indianapolis, okay, that's about give or take. It's a little earlier, I think, isn't it?
That's the original traditional weekend that
That's
the
true.
Brickyard
First
400
weekend
was
of
on.
Indianapolis. First weekend of August. Bristol, that would be a night race because it is in August, and I'm here to tell you, in August in Virginia, it can get rather toasty.
Richmond.
Michigan, okay, regular season finale. Daytona back there because we don't have Olympics next year, and that's part of the reason why Daytona's not the regular season finale this year. Okay, I can kind of handle, for the most part, that middle column. Save Rockingham.
Yeah.
Rockingham's a question mark.
Yeah, big question mark. Round of 16. Hey, we haven't heard this name yet until now.
Darlington, Watkins Glen. Okay, makes sense. Bristol. Wait. Did I miss the Bristol Spring Race? No, I didn't.
It's there. It's there.
Okay. Watkins Glen, Darlington. Did I hear a Darlington Spring Race?
No.
Huh.
You didn't.
Where's throwback / Labor Day weekend? Now we're going to go back to combining them again after we have gone through the process of giving Darlington back to, and Darlington has proved that they will sell out both races in a year?
In the words of Samuel L. Jackson on Pulp Fiction, correctamundo.
Round of 12. Kicking off at Talladega? I find that a little unlikely.
Yeah, no. And not in September either.
Vegas and Charlotte.
Recognize that doesn't say Charlotte Roval?
That's true. We have heard rumors that they are talking about it, but they're going to reform it this year. We'll see whether or not it sticks. Talladega, Vegas, Charlotte.
Don't see it happening.
Kansas, Homestead, Miami, Martinsville. I could easily see that as a trio. Don't have a problem
That's
with that.
basically like it is been past few years and this current year.
Yeah, and we've already confirmed that we're going to be back at Phoenix.
So we get to where who's going to lose one?
Darlington loses one. That much we've confirmed.
Darlington lost one. It hasn't been a secret that Richmond is going to lose a date in 25.
Yeah, that seems very likely. Unfortunately, I love Richmond. I think Richmond's a great track, but we've been there. We've seen it. To try and sell both races has not really been the most popular of tickets. So you drop it back to one, maybe you start selling out again.
Maybe so. But you mean to tell me that a racetrack that they're going to next weekend that's sold out within 10 minutes is going to be a one and done? I don't think so.
Yeah, I find that very hard to believe.
I do not think so. Very doubtful. So, you little YouTubers that thrive off of doing stuff like this. Stop.
Yeah. Wait.
Stop.
Before you do something, understand that once you put something out like this, it doesn't have to be exactly this. It could be literally anything that you're trying to put out there to make official. Understand that there are people that, like us, who are going to fact check that. Mm-hmm. Okay? And we're going to say, in the situation of this particular schedule, just like we stated when it came to Tony Stewart, if you haven't heard it from NASCAR, don't believe it 100%.
Or from a respected media outlet.
Yeah. NASCAR is going to put this out first. Now, will some more leaks probably happen? Yeah, probably so. The day of the official release, whenever that actually happens, somebody's probably going to get a hold of it first and leak it. Because, you know, we can't keep secrets anymore in this country, apparently.
No, sure can't.
But let's actually wait until NASCAR says, hey, we're going to be doing this. I mean, can you honestly tell me that NASCAR is going to go back to Bowman Gray Stadium, then go to Mexico City, and then go to Montreal, all in 1 year, which is next year, without that having already gotten out from somebody else and somebody more reputable than whoever these people are? All that information would have come out long before they put this thing out. I can guarantee it.
I don't see Montreal doing that in F1 in back-to-back weekends.
No.
Because the official F1 schedule has Montreal June 13th through the 15th next year.
I just don't see it.
No, that's...
Could we be wrong? Yeah. We've been wrong before, and we have fallen on the sword about it and come on to camera and microphone and admitted it straight up to our listeners / viewers.
Yep.
Have we been wrong before? Yes, we firmly admit that we are. We're human. We're mistake prone. These things do happen. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that this is wrong. Now, I would love the idea of going back to Rockingham. I don't care whether it's a points race or a cash grab clash kind of race. Doesn't matter to me.
Even a truck race.
Love to see the Cup Series back at Rockingham and at North Wilkesboro. Perfect. Do it. Bring it. Do I have a problem with them going to a Mexico City or a Montreal? No, not really. That doesn't bother me. But when you're eliminating the spring Darlington race where they are almost guaranteed a sellout, I find that really hard to believe.
Very. And you're doing a one and done in Iowa that is already guaranteed a hard sellout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't see that happening either. And when we get into the playoffs, I don't agree with the order, mainly on the round of 12. NASCAR doesn't really want to kick off or end a round at a Talladega. That's why Talladega, we know we work there, sits in the middle of whatever round they're in.
Mm-hmm. It does.
They've already got a cutoff race at a wild card. The cutoff to go into the playoffs is at Daytona. The last thing that they want to do is put that kind of pressure on those teams. Talladega will be almost guaranteed. I am 95% certain that Talladega in the fall, in the playoffs, will be in whatever round they're in, the middle race.
Same here.
I will put a slight margin of error in there because, again, been wrong before, we'll be wrong again. Is it in this case? Kind of doubt it, but I'll put it out there that it's possible. We'll see. Obviously, we'll keep you posted on it because that's what we do, and we'll talk about this and many other stories and an unfortunate passing in the world, specifically of open wheel racing and Trans Am racing that happened this week. You might want to look up Parnelli Jones, but we'll talk about his life a lot more come Saturday morning when we're on the 2-hour edition, 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Central Time. Make sure you check us out on YouTube, CRN Live. Until then, join us again next weekend for Cross Flags. And by the way, don't forget to tell your friends to subscribe. And if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. And we'll talk to you next Saturday and next week.
You've been listening to Crossed Flags, a racing podcast. For more content like this, subscribe to CRN Live on YouTube, and you'll be set to catch the 2-hour live show every Saturday morning at 9 Eastern, 8 Central.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.